Mike, were you surprised by the first period given last night and the way you guys have responded to losses so far this season?
Yeah, I was. And you know what? We poured some gas on that fire. You know, you don't get off to a good start. Last night we saw a goal in D zone coverage. Same thing happens early. And then we get an opportunity to even things up by going on the power play and we blow a toe off there. When you're -2, they get a power play goal, a shorthanded goal against a quality team. You're playing with fire. And I thought we continued to stick with it. But at the end of the day, tonight wasn't a good night for us.
Did you think Eli was struggling? Is that why you made a change, or is that a team
Yeah,
wake-up kind of change?
and again, I want to get in and pick it apart a little bit more. But two things: we didn't get off to a good start. We didn't support him. But then I thought he looked a little bit out of sorts, out of his net a couple of times. But from myself on down, we weren't what we needed to be tonight, and so we definitely couldn't afford that start after not quite getting there last night. And they're a good team with the lead.
Okay. Is there anything you can share about Morrissey, and was that from the block shot last night, or
Yeah, it was lower body.
is that something that's a concern for long term, or is that?
You know what? We're kind of day to day. I talked to him on the way up the runway when we got off the rink tonight after the game, and he says he's feeling better. But we'll see.
The trickle down at center from Zelenoff being out and Gavin being out, it seems like it's starting to pile up a little bit, where you're having to put people in positions that maybe you didn't want them to be. Is that a concern for you going forward, I guess?
It is, but I'm also going to tell you you don't get to draw what your path is. You better be willing to look in the mirror when you're good and when you're not. And then we've got some opportunities where we're going to need some guys to grow in a hurry. It's not like we can take a few weeks if those guys continue to be out, and Zelly's still going to be out for a bit. And we'll know with Gavin here a little bit more. But like I said to you, we have to manage it, but we have to get better. Tonight wasn't good enough, and I do think there was a little bit of residual of, over break, maybe us feeling pretty good about what we were doing and how we got there. And sometimes you forget that grind and you forget what you put into that success. And so, like I said, from our staff on down, identify it, own it. And when you're talking about your preparation, you get 4 days. We've got 2 here that we'll manage, but because of what we have out, we've got to make sure that we manage that in a rational way, because sometimes coaches aren't real rational. I still love my group. I still think it's a great group, and I still think that they're focused on what they get to control, and we'll reset that on Monday and get back to work.
Was there something about the power play that struggled with what Michigan State was doing in really pressuring the walls and getting out to them? Did you feel like there maybe could have been a little bit better handling of that the multiple times you had the chances there?
To get specific about it, 1, our entries, and 2, once we were in the zone, we settled to put pucks on walls, and that's a trigger point for a 3-point pressure penalty kill. And the best way to beat that is some interior passing and some poise, and we didn't handle that very well. That hasn't happened to us a tremendous amount in this season, but it did tonight.
It's probably pretty unwise to put too much into one weekend, 2 games out of 34. Do you have to remind your guys of that these are just a couple of games, that there's a couple more important ones and a lot more down the road here, and not to not to let this hurt you too much down the road?
Two sides of that coin, right? And I think this group's done a decent job that when we won a couple hockey games in a weekend, we didn't throw a party. And so if you lose two, you're not going to have a burial. I mean, we need to own both sides of that, learn from both sides. And again, I think the human nature piece, we got a little loose, and when you're playing a really good hockey team, they're going to expose that. And so that's honestly what it is. And so now go back, and we still got to control what happens Monday. And, we'll come back here tomorrow, get a little bit of a cleansing of the body, just as far as some stretch, and make sure that we're good when we get back on Monday. But at the end of the day, I've got a lot of trust in this leadership group, and understanding what it is. And it was a weekend. It wasn't a productive weekend as far as points, but from a learning point, very productive. We just have to make sure we're okay owning that.